Chapter 4. The Folk in the Faraway Tree. Before very long, the children were hidden in the branches as they climbed upwards. When Mr. Whiskers came back with 5 other elves, not a child could be seen. "Hey, come down!" yelled the elves, dancing around the tree. "You'll be captured or lost. This tree is very dangerous." Joe laughed and peered down. The faraway tree seemed to be growing acorns just where they were, so he picked one and threw it down. It hit Mr. Whiskers on the hat, and he rushed away shouting, "Oh, something's hit me! Something's hit me!" Then there was silence. "They've gone," said Joe, laughing again. "I expect they don't like it very much when it starts raining acorns. Funny little things. Come on, girls." "This must be an oak tree if it grows acorns," said Beth as she climbed. But just as she said that, she stared in surprise at something nearby. It was a prickly chestnut case with a hard nut inside. "Good gracious," she said. "It's growing horse chestnuts just here. What a very peculiar tree." "Well, let's hope it grows apples and pears higher up," said Franny with a giggle. "It's a most extraordinary tree." Soon they were quite high up. When Joe parted the leaves and tried to see out of the tree, he was amazed to find that he was higher than the tallest trees in the wood. He and the girls looked down on top of all the other trees, which looked like a broad carpet down below. Joe was higher up than the girls. Suddenly he gave a shout. "I say, girls, come up here quickly. I've found something odd." Beth and Franny climbed quickly. "Why, it's a window in the tree," said Beth in astonishment. They all peered inside, and then suddenly the window flung open, and a little angry face looked out with a nightcap on. "Rude creatures!" shouted the hungry little man who looked like a pixie. "Everybody that climbs a tree peeps in on me. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, there's always someone peeping." The children were too astonished to do anything but stare. The pixie disappeared and came back with a jug of water. He flung it at Beth and soaked her. She gave a scream. "Ah!" "Perhaps you won't peep into other people's houses next time," said the pixie with a grin, and he slammed his window shut and drew the curtain. "Well," said Beth, trying to wipe herself dry with her handkerchief, "what a rude little man." "We'd better not look in the windows that we pass," said Joe, "but I was surprised to see a window in a tree." Beth soon got dry. They climbed up again and soon had another surprise. They came to a broad branch that led to a yellow door set neatly in the trunk of the faraway tree. It had a little door knocker and a brightly polished bell. The children stared at the door. "I wonder who lives there," said Franny. "Shall we knock and see?" said Joe. "Well, I don't want water over me again," said Beth. "Well, let's ring the bell and then hide behind this branch," said Joe. "If anyone thinks he's going to throw water on us, he won't find us." So Joe rang the bell, and then they all hid carefully behind a big branch. A voice came from inside the door. "I'm washing my hair. If that's the butcher, please leave a pound of sausages." The children stared at one another and laughed. It was odd to hear butchers coming up to the faraway tree. The voice shouted again, "If it's the oil man, I don't want anything. If it's the red dragon, he must call again next week." "Good gracious," said Beth, looking very frightened. "The red dragon? I don't like the sound of that." At that moment, the yellow door opened and a small fairy looked out. Her hair was fluffed out round her shoulders, drying, and she was rubbing it with a towel. She stared at the peeping children. "Did you ring my bell?" she asked. "What do you want?" "We just wanted to see who lived in the funny little tree house," said Joe, peering in at the dark room inside the tree. And the fairy smiled. She had a very sweet face. "Come in for a moment," she said. "My name is Silky, because of my silky hair." "Where are you off to?" "We're climbing the faraway tree to see what's at the top," said Joe. "Be careful you don't find something horrid," said Silky, giving them each a chair in her dark little tree room. Sometimes there are delightful places at the top of the tree, but sometimes there are strange lands too. Last week there was the land of Hippity Hop, which was dreadful. As soon as you got there, you had to hop on one leg, and everything went hippity hop, even the trees. Nothing ever kept still. It was most tiring. It does sound exciting, said Beth. Where's our food, Joe? Let's ask Silky to have some. Silky was pleased. She sat there brushing her golden hair and ate sandwiches with them. She poured out a tin of pop cakes, which were lovely. As soon as you bit into them, they went pop, and you suddenly found your mouth filled with new honey from the middle of the little cakes. Franny took 7, one after another, for she was rather greedy. Beth stopped her. You'll go pop if you eat any more. Do lots of people live in this tree? Said Joe. Yes, lots, said Silky. They move in and out, but I'm always here. And so is the angry pixie down below. Oh, yes, we've seen him, said Beth. Who else is there? There is Mr. What's-his-name above me, said Silky. Nobody knows his name, and he doesn't know it himself, so he calls himself Mr. What's-his-name. Don't wake him if he's asleep, though. He might chase you. And then there's Dame Wash-a-Lot. She's always washing, and she pours her water away down the tree. You've got to look out for her waterfalls. This is such an interesting and exciting tree, said Beth, finishing her cake. Joe, I think we ought to go now, or we'll never get to the top. Goodbye, Silky. We'll come and see you another day. Oh, please do, said Silky. I'd like to be friends. They all left the dear little round room in the tree and began to climb up once more. Not long after, they heard a peculiar voice. It sounded like an aeroplane, throbbing and roaring. But they can't be aeroplanes in a tree, said Joe. He peered around, and then he saw what was making the noise. A funny old gnome sat in a deck chair on a broad branch with his mouth open, his eyes fast asleep, snoring hard. It's Mr. What's-his-name, said Beth. What a noise he makes. Mind we don't wake him. Shall I put a cherry in his mouth and see what happens? Said Joe, who was always ready for a bit of mischief. The faraway tree was now growing cherries all around for a change, and there were plenty to pick. No, Joe, no, said Beth. You know what Silky said? He might chase us, and I don't want to fall out of the tree. So they crept past old Mr. What's-his-name and went on climbing up and up. For a long time nothing happened, except the wind blew in the tree. The children didn't pass any more houses or windows in the tree, and then they heard another noise, a rather peculiar one. They listened. It sounded like a waterfall, and suddenly Joe guessed what it was. It's Dame Wash-a-Lot, throwing out her dirty water, he yelled. Look out, Beth, look out, Franny. Down the trunk of the tree poured a lot of blue soapy water. Joe dodged it. Franny slipped under a broad branch, but poor old Beth got a splash from head to toe. How she shouted. Joe and Franny had to lend their handkerchiefs. I'm so unlucky, sighed Beth. That's twice I've been soaked today. Up they went again, passing more little doors and windows, but seeing no one else. As at last they saw what was above them, a vast white cloud. Look, said Joe in amazement. This cloud has a hole in it, and the branches go up. And I believe we're at the very top of the tree. Shall we creep through the cloud hole and see what land is above? Let's, cried Beth and Franny. So they went up.